Welcome, Vikki and Tanya. It's glad to have you guys back on the chat today. And I want to talk about, I want to get your insights on the mental health of frontline workers and people who have been pushed to the maximum over these past few months because their job stress has just gone through the roof and they're struggling to deal with, the work-life balance. And I know you guys have a lot of insights on that. So why don't you share what you think is important and why the Vitality Festival can help these type of people with their, with their stress and balancing the work play?
Mm-hmm. Well, I come to this from a very sort of personal perspective, having suffered myself with some mental health issues over the years. And that was just trying to live a normal life and raise a family. And that wasn't going through the, as they say, the unprecedented times that we've been going through this year. I can't begin to imagine the additional stress that these very hardworking frontliners are under at the moment. I mean, not only are they having to work in very, very stressful circumstances, long hours, and also a lot of uncertainty and worry, but they also have to look after their homes and their families and their children who, may be homeschooling or maybe at school, but basically being babysat. If there are any cracks that were sort of lingering under the surface with regards to health or well-being, then all of those kind of circumstances combined can really, really trigger some very serious mental health issues. It may be that these people are just keeping going, but at some point, something's going to happen. There's going to be a crisis or something is going to snap. And it might not be right now while they're in the thick of it. But the whole point about this is trying to prevent things from getting serious and managing your well-being before things get to crisis point. So it's really about that work-life balance. It's really about encouraging these people to take some time out for themselves and to prioritize themselves and their own well-being, so that they can refill their own cups and be there not only for their jobs, but also for their families and their communities. They aren't just frontline workers, they're real people living real lives through a very stressful period. So we really, really, through doing this festival, want to encourage them to stop and to take that time out, very important time out for themselves.
Yeah, that's really valuable feedback. Thank you for sharing that. And what would you say, or maybe Tanya wants to share that, like somebody who is already stressed to the max, right? I mean, they're juggling family, work, children, and relationship. Now, how can someone like that take time out for themselves without feeling guilty? Because they're already pushed to the maximum. So maybe Tanya, because you're working with stressed out people all the time. So what would you say to someone like that who feels guilty and go, I'm already pushed to the maximum. So how in the hell can I possibly take time out for myself without feeling even more guilt when I know I should be spending more time with my family or my children?
Thanks, Monica. Look, I think the most important thing is that people need to look at why they feel guilty about taking time for themselves. And there's a really bad stigma out there in the world about if we take time for ourselves, that's being selfish and people are made to feel guilty. And I think that needs to really be put aside, because what people need to understand, and especially in these times, is that when we're not feeling good, we're not at our best self. And as Vikki was just saying before, our cup is empty. And then we're trying to help other people, and particularly frontline workers, stay-at-home parents, or anyone who's having to interact with the world at the moment. If you're doing that from a state of depletion, of depression, of stress and anxiety, you don't really have a lot of energy, good advice. You're not thinking properly. You're not accessing both sides of the brain. So the most important thing first to do is to stop and prioritize yourself and look at how you can actually start to fill your cup up. Yeah. And you need to forget about that side of being selfish, because the more you actually put into yourself, the more you've got available to help and share with other people. And the more you put into yourself, the better you feel and the better version of yourself you are. So you can actually help people more so when you help yourself. And the basis for a lot of the understanding is we're all connected on some level. So again, the more you help yourself, the more you're actually helping everybody else as well. You know that when you're in a good mood, when you're in a good place, and you have a vibration or a vibe that you share with everybody around you. So when you're not feeling good, then unfortunately that's what you share with other people. So that's why it's really important to help yourself first, before helping other people. It's like the airplane analogy. When you're going down, put your own mask on before you put on that of your, the mask on your children. Because when you're helping yourself, then you can help everybody else. That's the first thing that I want to say. The second thing that I think is really important is to ask for help. Yeah? I think everybody really needs to stop and acknowledge where they're at, because there are some people who are really struggling, and there's nothing wrong with being in that position, but you actually have to acknowledge it and say and admit to yourself, I'm not feeling good. And there are so many pressures. There's the pressure of the stress of getting COVID. There's the stress of financial stress. There's some stress for people. They're living at home in their houses with people they never thought they were going to spend so much time with. There's some of us stay-at-home mums who all of a sudden we have to become teachers, and that's not for me. Anyway, there's all these extra stresses that each of us are having to deal with at the moment. And there has to become a time where you acknowledge, you stop for a moment, pause, acknowledge, I'm not feeling good. I'm not at my best self. I'm feeling anxious all the time. I'm not sleeping well. I'm eating too much. I'm drinking too much. All these things as really signs and symptoms of people who are being mentally and emotionally challenged by what's going on. And then there's being able to acknowledge it. Okay, there is something going on with me. I'm not feeling great. Then what is it that I can do about it? Can I phone a friend? Can I ring up Vikki and say, Vikki, I'm really not feeling good today? And acknowledging that you feel good, asking for help. Can you help me in some way? Can you bring me dinner? Yeah. Most of us are really good at offering help out, but not so many people, particularly women, are not great at asking for help. And I think in these times, really, people need to learn to ask for help, which is partly why Vikki and I decided to organise this amazing event, because we wanted to help people. We wanted to share inspiring information and educate people in lots of different ways in terms of how they can help themselves. And it's really interesting. I've been doing all these interviews with these amazing 70 speakers that we have, all leaders in their fields, and everybody's talking about the fact that we need to prioritise ourselves. We need to look after ourselves. We need to acknowledge when we're not feeling good, and then we need to look at what's going on up here. Because whatever you're thinking, that creates your reality. And if you're not happy with what's going on in your life, if you're feeling depressed in any way, don't be ashamed of it. Just acknowledge that's what's going on, because there are so many ways that you can help yourself. And we've got 70 different ways at least in the Vitality Festival where you can try different things to see what works. And that's the most incredible thing about this festival, is that sometimes you don't know if you should do this or you should do this. And we've got everything from the most scientific. We've got some doctors who are speaking, and we've got some people who are really talking on from that spiritual side. Some people lie somewhere in between that, and there are so many different ways that you can help yourself. Vikki is an amazing walking example of somebody who wasn't feeling great, who acknowledged that she was being challenged, and she's gone through and slowly rebuilt herself. And look at her now. She's incredible. She's running this amazing festival. She's standing up. She's speaking publicly to a lot of people that are working on challenges in the mental health field, and she's a living example that you can get better. And it just takes finding the right habits that serve you to get you moving in the right direction. And ask yourself, what is it? What's the reality that you want to be living in? What's the world that you want to create? And then start slowly, little microseconds, and especially if you're not feeling great, start with something small. Start with a cup of tea in the morning. Wake up 5-10 minutes earlier than you were before. I know we're all short of sleep, But you'll find if you take that 5 or 10 minutes anywhere in your day with your cup of tea, just sit there and tune in. Just ask yourself, where am I at? How am I feeling? What do I need? Yeah? And then work out how it is that you can get that. And if you can't do it, there's somebody out there in your network that can do it. And if not, I'm almost can guarantee you at this festival, there'll be one of those talks that's going to speak to you and completely a springboard for you into better health, and whether it's physically, mentally, and emotionally, yeah, we all deserve nothing but the best.
Thank you. That is amazing, profound insights. And that's what I love about what you guys are doing. You know, I think you're also kind of breaking down the stigma of asking for help, because like you said, Tanya, you know, we women struggle asking for help. We're conditioned to give because we're the nurturers, we're the providers for the children. We raise children. I mean, men raise children too, but it's traditionally the role of the woman to do it. And, you know, it's very hard to ask when we're always giving. So I think the festival is going to break down some of these boundaries and actually break down some of that stigma as well, because, you know, people can get help. And what you said about having these different speakers and organize it, like the presenters of the festival, and having all these different aspects of it. You know, you've got the musicians, you've got amazing health and wellness rock stars showing up and facilitating from their expertise. It's just fascinating. It's absolutely amazing what you guys are doing. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think what's worthwhile mentioning is when people sign up to the event, they're not expected to be at every session. Yeah, it's not that you have to block the 9 days out. What Vikki and I really wanted to do in terms of helping people is we're going to make everybody's going to get access to the recording of every single session, so you can take the time that you want. You can decide when you listen to something. If you like something, you can listen to it again and again and again. And you can always get access to these incredible speakers, because, you know, all these people who are feeling really strong at the moment, they want to help you. Yeah? So just sign up and come along.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tanya. Thank you, Vikki. You guys are amazing.
Thanks, Monica.
Thank you.